While in theater school, my mentor told me the story of one of our classmates who had gone to New York to audition for all these big plays and big shows and big agencies. And they came back to Minnesota and they were really, really ticked off. And my mentor said, "What happened?" And the classmate said, "I didn't get any of these auditions. I didn't get a single one." And the mentor said, "Good." And the classmate could not capacitate that response. He was so upset with the way that my mentor had responded to him. And he said, why would you say good? Why would you even say that? It's not good. I didn't get any of the auditions. And my mentor said, if your temper, your emotions, your feelings, your balance, whatever they mentioned, is going to get jilted or taken off balance just by not getting an audition, then you probably shouldn't be in acting. And I think that got him even heated even more. And the mentor replied, "This practice is not about getting the job or not getting the job or going for the job or not going for the job. It is about continuing down the path that you've chosen to tell stories. And nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can determine if you're a storyteller or not. Nobody can merit your skill or talent as an actor. You are simply in the world, and the world has different rooms, and some of those rooms will say, yes, you can be here. Some of them will say you cannot. However, the rooms do not determine whether you're an actor or not. And I wanted to start off with the story because the lesson that we're going to go over today, as I change my phone to display brightness, auto lock never, because many times I'll be like, I think I got it memorized, and then no, I don't. I'm gonna need to look at the notes. Think of your life going forward not by force, but by faith. And just before we get started, I don't want you to start thinking that I'm incorporating some sort of religion or some sort of, religious text or some concept of God in this. We're just starting off with not by force, but by faith. And what we're going to work out for you today is the by faith part, the second half of this line, not by force, but by faith. What does that look like for you? It's going to look different for everybody. However, what I'm going to gamble on is that moving by force is very similar for everybody. I think we all know what that feels like and what that looks like. And when we get back to the classmate that I was speaking about, there was a lot of by force in that initial approach that they had to getting jobs via auditions. And for me, the by force was always the opposite of faith for me. It was always putting my worth, my validation, or my enoughness into the hands of someone else, something else. It was always subscribing to the 3D, giving them the agency to say yes or no on me, and then I would go from there. And if they accepted me, then I felt accepted. And if they didn't accept me, then I got to do something different to be accepted. And the issue with that, and we talked about this earlier, is that when you merit yourself by the 3D, you have tacitly, you have given over permission to somebody else to basically take agency of your life. That's it. If we base our worth on likes and shares and comments in social media, we have given it over to the social media algorithm or platform, whatever it may be. But when we stay in our frame, when we stay in our higher self, when we stay from within, not from without, we start from within and then go without. As you go within, so you go without. Then we can source ourself as the value, source ourself as the validation, source ourself as the enoughness. We get to determine that, and we get to make the practice on how are we going to move forward in our craft. And many times, I'll give you a story at the end, how not by force, but by faith definitely affected my life and how it helped me get into a mode of self-mastery, because self-mastery is not something that can be achieved, in my experience and in my eyes, by basically subscribing to force as a means to getting what you want. Force, for me, it means that you're subscribing only to the 3D, that everything just outside of you is either going to tell you yes or no, and that's it. When in reality, if you have faith in what you are doing, then force doesn't even need to be applied. So we'll go over a few things that when you know you're in force and you're not in faith. And the way that you know you're not moving in faith is when you're not operating out of fear. Now, there's a key word, fear. And fear, for me, and this is the first thing to understand about this. We're not going to give you tips on how to do this or how to do that. I just want you to understand the platform, or just the bedrock, maybe not even the bedrock, but just like the first floor of this apartment, not by force, but by faith. When you are moving in faith, it's when you are not moving in fear. So understand that fear, operating in fear, think of it as operating in scarcity. Think of it as you're simply trying to not go into debt. You're simply trying to maintain, like, just at a base level. Think of it as that. You're trying to survive. And I think a better way to really define it is you're just trying to tread water and not die. And those circumstances in that scenario is pretty terrifying, and it can, raise your cortisol levels when you're always in a state of, I have to just survive, I have to tread water, I have to stay on the level. You don't get to do any thriving. You don't get to do any building, no growth, no expansion. And so when you're operating out of fear, you're seeing the world for a situation of, well, this is either all or nothing. And it really turns into black and white thinking. We can go down that road some other time. But operating in faith means you're not operating in fear. And so we kind of find out what faith is by what it's not. And for me, faith doesn't really have any fear involved in it. And it's not to say that you're totally devoid of caution, but it's to say that you're having faith that not only are things going to work out, but things are going to work. And I know that sounds weird. You may want me to say, well, in my favor, or work out for me, or work to my goal and my success. No. I'm just saying, when you have faith, you're saying that things are going to work. They are. And the other part of that is you're going to be alongside with it. I'll be right there. We'll be right there. That's the faith, is that you'll be right alongside it. And when you add that part in, that you will be a part of that process, there's no such thing as lose. It's not you can't lose. There's no such thing as lose. You will see it through. Wayne Dyer. I always go back to Wayne Dyer in these videos. Oh my God, you're being done. You're already done. It is already done. It's done. And it's because you're putting faith in the process. The second thing is operating out of fear. It's almost a certainty that you are not trusting the process. And the process is something that is really kind of out of your control. And think of it as this. Going from point A to point B. I can promise you'll get to point B. The process is going from here to here. But what I can promise you is that the process will not be what you think it is. I thought that I was going to, this is a great example. I thought that I was going to go to state in track and field. And I was like, yes, this is what I practice for most. I will go to state in track and field. And I don't know why I just said it like John Lithgow. But I was like, okay, I'm going to go to state in track and field. This is it. I ended up going to state in swimming, not track and field. I ended up getting Lyme disease right before track and field regionals. And my body was shot. I was not okay. And that being said, I did get to state. I said I'm going to state. I got to state in swimming. The process is not what I thought it was. I got from point A to point B. I sure did. I did not get there in the way that I thought. And the crazy part is I wasn't able to really value that until looking back at it. When I got to state in swimming, there was a part of me, I've never said this out loud. When I got to state in swimming, there was a part of me that knew, crap, this is the state that the universe was talking about. I'm going to this one, not the track. And so even in saying that, I gave up the possibility of going to state and track. Like I had it worked out in my head that this is what it was going to be. Had I let go and let the process unfold, which in a way I kind of did, things might have been different. They might have been different, but I value and I love and I wouldn't change anything from my experience on how that all went down. And so when you operate out of fear, it's almost a certainty that you are not trusting the process. Operating out of fear is saying that you're going to force the process. You're going to play God. In a sense, we'll get into, be a God over your own situations like neuroKnowledge. But for right now, it's saying that you're going to control the universe. You're going to take over the universe's wheel. You're going to get in the driver's seat. No, you're not. No, you're not, dog. You ain't going to control these waves. You're going to surf on them. You're not going to control this traffic. You're going to flow with it. You're going to get to where you're going. It may not be at the time that you thought you were going to get there, but you will get there, and it will be, maybe a little later, maybe even a little earlier than you thought. Who knows? But you will get there. But operating out of fear is saying that you're going to control the traffic. You're going to control the waves and the wind. No, you're not. You're not going to do it. When you understand that you are part of a bigger tapestry and that when you declare, just by you wanting something or being able to envision something means that you can have it. It means that you can see it. Brian Stevenson of the Equity Justice Initiative said that people born into slavery had to envision a reality outside of slavery. Born into being enslaved peoples, they had to see a reality. They had to imagine, envision, just innovate the picture in their eyes of not being enslaved. They had to imagine that possibility. Anything that you see, a brick in the wall, a pillar underneath the bridge, a train going by, somebody had to imagine that before it came into reality. You have to imagine your reality, and just by envisioning it and wanting it, it can happen. However, you have to let go. You have to go not by force. You guess the rest of it. And when you do that, when you submit yourself, when you surrender to the process, and it's not saying, sleep in and, don't wake up and get after it. It's saying when you just get up and get after it, regardless of what it looks like to you, you can't, there's no such thing as lose. I'm really resisting the urge to say you can't lose. But what I'm getting at is there is no such thing as losing. You're just having it. You're already committed. And the third thing is faith. What is it? And I think a lot of people have different definitions for it, but I'll give you my definition, which can hopefully help you out. Kind of digging this light situation here. We kind of got it going in and out. The sun's going down. It's between leaves and whatnot. I know I'm a little dark in the frame here. Faith is not a finish line. It is, it's a discipline. It's a memory that you carry. It's a sense of identity. It's a sense of relationship with the rest of the world. And it's an active verb for me. It's like any relationship. There's many, in high school when you're like, oh, we in love. We made it. And you think that it's like a light switch when in reality it's what it really is, it's a verb, it's a muscle, it's a recognition, it's a familiarity, it's visiting an old friend, it's watering a plant, it's tending to a garden. Faith is something that is what it means to be human. It's to see absolute devastation and destruction outside of you, yet be able to still envision a better day, a better time, a reconstruction, a expansion, a growth, a spring, a blossoming. And it feels audacious sometimes. It feels even embarrassing sometimes to have faith. And what I would say to you is recognize those feelings that you feel when you begin to connect with faith. Recognize them all, because each and every single one of them will want to pull you back and pull you out of your frame. And when they're not able to do that, when you're able to stay in your frame, that is the practice of faith. That is the practice of self-care, self-love, self-compassion. Because to serve or to be of value, or, you say if you're valid or if you're of value or if you're enough, and you already are, is the hint of that. However, you get to determine that, and you get to work at that. And the better you get at it, or the more you go to therapy, the more of faith you can be to your journey and your craft, as opposed to thinking or subscribing to the idea that force is the only means to getting to your end of the road, or your end of success, or meeting your goal. And the crazy thing I'll give to you is that even when I've gotten there by lack of faith, and this was through music, I had booked these shows and opened up for some other acts, and we got in front of like thousands of people, and it was so cool, and it was great, it was awesome, and it was short-lived. It wasn't not genuine. It just wasn't what I believed success, or what I envisioned. If that's all I wanted, awesome. That's great. But that was not all I wanted. I wanted people to show up to the show for me. However, they were there for the headline act, which again is fine. However, I thought the shortcut was, we'll open up for this big act, and then we'll get the success and the validation and the notoriety that we want, and we'll feel complete. And I will tell you what, I played at a record store in New Orleans. It's probably one of the most important shows I ever played. I had a song called Late for My Own Funeral, and it's about my father, relationship to my father, and he was there in the record store, and he saw it. My father's, like I've told you many times in this channel, he's a very stoic guy. But the fact that he sat there through the whole song and listened to it, I was like, it's pretty cool. He was one of probably 5 or 10 people in the audience. And it was cool. It was during the day. It was in a record store. But that meant more to me than performing in front of thousands at this festival that we did in a different state, and some other places that we had gone. And like that situation was sheerly by just me putting it together. Like I had let go, I had written the song, I had made the moves I needed to make, and just kept trucking forward, and that circumstance just happened to happen. I could not have made that happen if I wanted to. It just ended up being the way it was going to be. So there we were. So not by force, but by faith. And I'm very curious. And like I said in the beginning, we all most likely will have different versions of faith. What does faith mean to you? Put that in the comments below. Like, help everybody watching this video out, because I just gave you my definition of faith, which is essentially, it's not a finish line, it's a discipline, it's a road, it's a familiarity, a recognition, a watering of a garden, a reconnecting with a friend, a text out of the blue saying, are you okay? It's I love you without any zero-sum game or expectation. it really is. Faith is moving forward without expectation. And it's just applying your skills and talents to your platform and craft that you've learned to do, and just saying, all right, here I am. I'm showing up again. I'm gonna go for it. Let's see what happens. So that's what I got for you today in today's video. Thank you so much for watching. We will most definitely see you in the next one.